I have with me in the studio a political technocrat joining us here, Dr. Dayo Kayode. He is right here with me. It's nice to see you.
Nice seeing you again, Mike.
We expect Dotun to join us as we get along. But let's see what the headlines are. We begin with the Daily Trust. Daily Trust is where we start from this morning. And he says 12 states reel under 2.1 trillion naira debt burden. If you read that paper, you're going to see details of all the states, the list of the states and how much each of them is owing. Daily Trust has that on its front page. Let's move now to the Nigeria News Direct. Mixed reactions trail federal government's Africa Free Trade Agreement as federal government identifies 22 non-oil sectors products with $30 billion income annually. Nigeria should focus on building competitive economy. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry is saying this and charging the government to do more to benefit the best in the Africa Free Trade Agreement. Moving now to Blueprint. The Blueprint newspaper says on Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, Nigeria targets $150 billion from 22 non-oil products to create 500,000 jobs, and trade must be free, fair. That's President Buhari saying that. And UN pledges support for Nigeria and the entire agreement. Okay, that's what the Blueprint has on its front page. Let's move to The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper says, how to make Africa's free trade deal work for Nigeria. How to make Africa's free trade deal work for Nigeria. Expert task government on infrastructure for competitive manufacturing. Buhari signs treaty, vows to sustain country's leadership role. Okay, that's what The Guardian has on its front page. All right, Dr. Kayode, let me come to you now. Nigeria is the biggest, is the largest economy in Africa.
Are you sure?
Well, of course, the statistics show that Nigeria has overtaken all the countries and all of that. There are different.
The latest statistics is showing Ghana.
No, there are different indices. There are different sectors, sub-sectors that other countries can be better. But when it comes to the overall, when it comes to GDP, when it comes to adding all of those things together, Nigeria still stands out there. But however way, Nigeria remains the bride of the world when it comes to going to Africa.
Because of population.
And
because
so on.
of population.
That's the market. In the
but insecurity is now causing a lot of issues there too.
That's a different indices. That's a different index, as the case may be. But the point there is, what do you think about this issue of the free trade agreement that Nigeria has now signed?
Yeah, because of our population, it will have been a very, very good thing. But on the other way, what is our level of preparedness? What do we even have to showcase as regards being exported to other nations in Africa?
It's a big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a big challenge because even when you look at our productive sector, which of them are producing maximally? Even minimally, which of them? The textile industries are no more there. The cocoa is no more there. Even when it comes to exploration of our crude oil, so people are exploring it to their own advantage. So my own fear...
We've always had that, isn't it?
Yes, my own fear is even that, are they not going to make Nigeria now a dumping ground?
The entire continent, that's a fear of a lot of stakeholders.
Do you understand? Are they not going to make Nigeria a dumping ground whereby other nations will be importing to their own country and then bring it to Nigeria to come and sell as coming from
under the agreement?
Do you understand? So the issue is two ways. But the thing is, Nigerians on their own, individuals, different corporate entities should look at how they can easily key into that particular agreement, whereby they can export their own potentialities to other nations.
What do you think about government working with the private sector in deliberately driving? Now we have an automobile manufacturing company, which is a Nigerian brand,
and they are giving it problem now.
And besides that, the Nigerian banks are also a product that we can sell, and push them into other African countries.
That's what I was saying. Right. That's why I was most concerned with individuals and other corporate institutions, because between you and me, to a very large extent, government in this country, either PDP, APC, or whatever, I'm not talking about parties now. I'm talking about government generally.
The leadership
has failed. The leadership of the country has failed. They have never been proactive. Rather, they are being reactive.
But if we have to start taking the steps now, what do you think should be the first steps we should take towards making Nigerians benefit or make the best out of this free trade agreement?
Between you and me, the first step we should first of all take is about education. Not education in terms of 4 walls of the university or wherever. Education in terms of understanding all the nitty-gritty of this agreement. What are the things that are embedded?
I believe Nigerians have understood that, the leadership has understood that. That's why they signed.
But Nigeria, you see, it's the leadership now you're talking about government. This is government that has failed. But we're now talking about institutions. For instance, banks. Do you understand? For instance, educational institutions that can go out there and sell their products. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is they should come out basically with the nitty-gritty of those agreements so that people can see, people will understand what are the things that are embedded within that agreement, and then they will now be able to take advantage of whatever is there. For instance, let's look at the issue of visa. Let's say, okay, because I have this, I have that, then I can enter Ghana freely because of this agreement. Then I should be able to take my trade to Ghana as an expert on a particular field. I should be ready to take my trade to Ghana. I should be ready to take my trade to South Africa. I should be ready to take my trade to either Egypt or wherever. But without knowing the nitty-gritty of those of the things embedded in that agreement, how will people know?
But if we have this information out there, certainly we don't expect government or the African Union or ECOWAS, for that matter, to come and put a blackboard and say, okay, it's time for us to teach you what the thing is. The point there is, it is in the public domain now. If you have interest in Rwanda, you have interest in Congo, Uganda or Tanzania, wherever, it is left for the person to source for the information, get to know the details of whatever as far as it relates to your business, and then you take advantage of it.
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying, that people need to be educated as regards what are in it. To that extent, Nigerians will be able to catch in into those advantages themselves rather than waiting for government.
All right, for the benefit. All right, that's interesting.
12 states reel under 2.1 trillion naira debt burden. We'll be looking at that shortly. I will move to the front page of Nigeria News Direct. Mixed reaction trail federal government's Africa Free Trade Agreement as federal government identifies 22 non-oil sectors product with $30 billion income annually. Nigeria should focus on building competitive economy, LCCI. To the front page of the blueprint, Africa Free Trade Agreement, Nigeria targets $150 billion from 22 non-oil products to create 500,000 jobs. Trade must be free, fair, President Buhari. UN pledges support. And finally, on the front page of The Guardian, how to make Africa's free trade deal work for Nigeria. Experts task the government on infrastructure for competitive manufacturing. Buhari signs treaty, vows to sustain country's leadership role. All right, we move to the front page of the Daily Trust. Dr. Kaide, 12 states under a 2.1 trillion naira debt burden. What do you make of this?
Veronica, I'm not too bothered about the 2.1 trillion debt burden.
Really? Well, you're not bothered?
I'm not bothered. But what bothers me is, where has this money gone into? How far has it been able to affect our productive sectors?
So are you saying that whatever it was used for cannot be seen? If it was project, it's not commensurate with what is being said?
Let me ask you, have you been seeing it? The whole of this debt burden, have we been able to see the effect on the economy? Look at it. Look
okay,
at.
perhaps if I mention some of the states, you
Okay.
might recognize what
Okay.
it has been done. In Imo State,
They use it
In
to build
Lagos State?
status. Where they used to build status.
in Lagos State,
Go ahead.
in Borno State.
Go ahead.
I'm mentioning, perhaps
Now,
you can see all of these
now
things.
look at this. Look at this. Look at
In-
what Aristotle and
In
I think-
Adamawa?
Look at what Aristotle and Kofi Annan said. And I summarize like this. Poverty is the mother of insecurity. To what extent have we gotten security in all these states we're talking about? Adamawa, Borno, Zamfara, and all that. If people have not been poor to a very large extent, there will have been security. Two, how much of this money has gone into education? Study the whole budget of some of these states. None of them are giving education up to 6%. Big shortfall between what UNESCO under United Nations has prescribed, as advised, 20%. When people are not educated, what do you expect? All our children who are supposed to be in schools, go and look at them. They are all there doing all sorts of nefarious activities.
But one worrying aspect.
The worrying aspect now is this. These trillions upon trillions of naira, where has it gone into?
Big question.
Now, the thing is this. How far have they been able to use this money for us to be able to compete competitively, successfully within African community? Now that we have even signed a trade agreement.
Now, another aspect is the fact that despite the fact that governments, that the federal government keeps giving these states billions of naira every month, they're still having this kind of burden. And then it goes back
And salaries are not even being paid.
Salaries are not being paid. So what does this imply?
It implies that so many people, all the leaders we have, they are so hedonistic.
Break it down.
Nothing other than their pocket, thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about the people. And then when you look at all these trillions of naira being spent on nothing, it is you and I that now bears the burden. Where do we go from here? Poverty. And poverty now leads to insecurity. And when we're talking about insecurity, it is also you and I that are being affected. Because they have retinue of guards guarding them. So not until when you and I stand up, look, how have you accounted for this? Let us all stand up for the truth rather than following dogmatically. Let us all stand up for leaders that are philosophical in leadership. Let us look for leaders.
But it's the same Nigerians that voted these people in.
That's why I'm saying let us forget about people that you just follow without adequate programs. Politicians that doesn't have an ideology. Politicians that don't have philosophy. Look at what Awolowo did. Look at Amadou Bello. Look at Tafawa Balewa. Look at all of them. Those of them look at Baba Jakonde. What Jakonde did. We can still sit in Lagos State till today. But the issue is, all these people we are now following, look at what they are doing. Look at what happened in House of Reps last week. Look at the way they were. Some people were even removing their clothes.
So many issues, but where do we begin as Nigerians to begin to hold our leaders accountable?
It begins from you and I. By rejigging our sense of belonging to nationhood. What do you and I want as a nation? What do you and I want to, how do you want to define what we call national identity? Do we want to see leaders who sees stealing as different from misappropriation as our leader? Do you want to see leaders who are always there stealing our money but then giving you a little bit of it and then following them and be saying, Rankadede, Babarede, Babake? Do you understand? So we need to define what we want as a national identity. And this can only be done by you and I. Not until when we have been able to do that, all this money will be trickling to their pocket.
Now, there are institutions in place to also
Which institution?
Which
institution that can buy but cannot buy it? The only bags they can buy. Oh, yeah.
So how much can Nigerians do?
Look at what happened last week. How can you say because just one person was not on seat, then you are quashing something else? I mean, let us look at things objectively without being subjective. We should be truthful in dealing with each other. If you want a better Nigeria, we should be able to say the truth.
12 states reel under 2.1 trillion naira debt burden. 12 states. Okay, that's what you find on the front page of the Daily Trust. From there, let's go to the Nigerian News Direct. And that says, mixed reactions trail federal government's African Free Trade Agreement. As federal government identifies 22 non-oil sectors products with $30 billion income annually, and Nigeria should focus on building competitive economy. The LCCI is saying that that's the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. From there, let's go to the blueprint. The blueprint is next now. The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, Nigeria targets $150 billion from 22 non-oil products to create 500,000 jobs, and trade must be free and fair. President Buhari is saying this, and UN pledges support for agreement. We find all that on the front page of the blueprint. Let's move now to The Guardian. The Guardian is our next paper now. How to make Africa's free trade deal work for Nigeria. You find that on the front page. And there are some multiple riders there. Experts task government on infrastructure for competitive manufacturing. And Buhari signs treaty, vows to sustain country's leadership role. Of course, Nigeria remains a leader in that regard. However, how Nigerians are prospering is something else. But however, you find out on the front page of The Guardian. The Daily Sun is our next paper now. Rumbles over Ruga. Southern Middle Belt leaders allege plots to repeal amend Land Use Act. And Niger Delta militants or Hanese youths warn over implementation ultimatum. Arewa Forum demands schemes reintroduction. You find that on the front page of the Daily Sun. All the rumblings over Ruga. All right, we'll be talking about that shortly. Now, moving now to The Nation, which is our last paper for this morning. Shoyinka Oni to Nigerians. Defend your ancestral lands. Monarch, Nobel laureate, won against anarchy. You find that on the front page of The Nation newspaper. Gentlemen, I'd like us to talk about the rumbles on Ruga, the Ruga rumbling, and the way the Daily Sun puts it. You see it on the front page of the Daily Sun that says, rumbles over Ruga, Southern Middle Belt leaders plot, alleged plot to repeal amend Land Use Act. Now, this rumbles, as we say, the federal government, after listening to lots of Nigerians, they had to suspend the idea of the Ruga settlement plan or the scheme for the meantime. But shortly after that, we saw a viral video from some group in the north went viral, giving the government an ultimatum, in fact, giving them 30 days from the 3rd of July to implement, the act. Otherwise, there's going to be some kind of fracas, the case may be. Lee, how do you see this in the face of everyone trying to come to the table for negotiations and moving forward?
Sincerely, one of the problems I've identified for this country is our political, religious, and so-called lawyers. What is more rugged than the Chinese incursion to our economy? I cannot remember anybody in Ogun State fighting when the free trade zone was given to the Chinese people to take over. Like, there was a report on TVC that actually stated what the community people are facing. What could be more rugged in Dangote taking over a cement factory? So what you find out is that whatever does not please our political class or whatever does not please our so-called leaders, they try to create ethnic sentiment. And what I'm referring to is this. First of all, you remember there was a time in Lagos there was a fracas between the Yorubas and Hausas, and all of a sudden the price of tomatoes skyrocketed, and you discovered that the Northerners are not coming to bring it in. So do we have this practice in civilized nations? Yes, we do. In Highland, in Germany, in Brazil, you have some certain area condoned of, and if you look at nomadism as it were, it's more of a Western Sahara thing. So if you decide to say, okay, we will not allow Fulani from Adamawa, from Yola, are you going to stop the guy from Mali? And you and I understand very well that the best of green grass is found along Benue, Lokoja, Enugu coast. So what you find out is that we're all saying they want their the livestock to produce more milk, more meat, and at the end of the day, they need better grass. So in order for us to reduce this level of clash, there are just going to be regulation. That's all. So if you, one of the presidential candidates, I was watching his clip online, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, actually advocated for the same thing. So you'll be shocked that you see some party leaders saying, in my own state, we will not allow Ruga. But this set of people are calling Chinese to come and invest. So are you saying the Chinese investment in your area, creating an environment for farm settlement is not happening? And even
that Nigerians, people feel that we should be used to each other by now because we have come to stay. Nigeria has come to stay. We met this land and everybody will leave it after all. Shouldn't there be a new perspective, a new horizon that these same rhetorics have not worked? Let's, come up with something else.
Yeah, you see, the main issue there is, in quotes, lack of trust. And that is what is bringing in the anarchical character into the whole issue.
What should be the level of trust in true terms?
I will tell you.
Because the point there is...
I will tell you the level. Okay. I'm building a case.
Okay.
That's why I started with that word trust.
Okay.
When he was talking about the Chinese and all others, it still amounts to that issue of trust.
Right.
Now, if there is nothing behind Ruga concept, I think the policymakers of that Ruga concept should understand that, look, the whole landmass in Kogi State alone is bigger than the landmass we have in the southeast. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
The whole landmass that we have in, I think, Benue Samfara is much more bigger than the one we have in the whole of southwest. And there, you also have tendency to grow enough grass for the cattle to feed on. Where do we now go from here? Let them sit down and look at the comparative advantage. Where is it that is more advantageous comparatively for us to have Ruga settlements? If there is nothing behind acquiring lands from all other regions that are not having land mass for that, which needs a lot of land mass. You need where to put those cows, and then you need also where to grow those grasses.
Okay. Now, the former Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe, has said that the Nigerian species of cow is the most malnourished anywhere in the world because they just eat grass. There's no balance. There's no deliberate way of feeding them for a certain purpose and all of that. So they just keep eating grass.
Sorry, are you aware of that, Basita? Are you aware we have a big piece of land in, I think, Basita or so, very close to Basita there, that was established some years back by the Dutch people? Is still there. That one can successfully take nothing less than 4,000 cows. And that will be
Is it a free space?
It's not a free
space.
It's still there. It's still there.
Unfortunately, this is the much time you can have right now. These are very interesting topics that we could have, gone ahead, but this is where we have to leave it right now. Thank you very much, Dr. Dayo Kayode, for coming on the program. Obani, thank you so much for coming as well. Thank you. Right.